Greetings fellow traders, this is Max and welcome to my Sunday market analysis where I'm going to analyze the market and share with you my top trades for the upcoming week. And if you look at my list, this week's list looks really similar to last week's list. And what I mean by that is that I have selected most of the pairs from last week for this week's list because they have trade setups that are still playing out and that I'm really looking forward to trading if I receive the proper price action that I am looking for. And what price action I'm looking for, you will get to know in the coming video. And later on in the video we will have a look at some other pairs from last week, in particular those two pairs from last week which are not featured in this week's list, and we will have a look at those to see how they have performed. So stay tuned until the end of the video for that. So without further ado, let's start here with the pair AUDCAD. And on AUDCAD you can still see the markers from last week where I was looking for either a short position or a long position depending on the price action. Now the price has turned out to continue to the upside and experiencing resistance at the pretty much first resistance area. So why is it then on my list again? Well, I did not manage to open a proper long position here on AUDCAD because I was expecting a higher low here to enter more cleanly and more in the way of how my strategy works, because I wanted to see just a tiny wick down below the 0.96 round psychological level again, so that the price would then have the proper shifter structure, giving me my entry signal to open a long position here. It did not do so, but right now it is coming back into the zone and it looks like it could experience enough support again to actually continue to the upside and that I could profit off of that. But what I want to see first before I decide to open a long position here is I want to see price wicking below this area a tiny bit, then reversing immediately, giving me some kind of higher low where I can open my long position here on this pair to then profit off of a continuation to the upside. And if you look at the weekly chart, this pattern looks quite similar. It's important to note we are at a really high area and a really high price level. But if we look at some formations in the past, for example this area here, you can see that it looks quite familiar with this. We are pretty much at the top of an uptrend and we are having a weekly candlestick with a wick that was about to get filled and even dip a little higher in here again. And that's, for example, what I try to profit off of here. I'm just trying to look for the potential wick fill up to the upper level again. Of course, it could be that we are just going to turn around now and that the short position will become valid, but that's all to observe now. Of course, I'll leave it as a second option, but right now I just want to manage the price action, or just look at the price action and then make my decision based off of how the price is moving. So I'm mainly looking for a long position, but of course a short position might also be possible. The next pair is AUDJPY, and on AUDJPY I'm clearly looking for a long position here. As you can see, we are still in a really solid uptrend and we are almost breaking through those resistance and support areas. Resistance areas turn into support areas. Really beautiful trade. And same is happening here. We have had a resistance area, the 111.5 round psychological level. We broke through it. I wanted to open a long position last week already, but as you can see, it never really gave me the higher low or another wick down here so that I could enter. And this formation was pretty much towards the end of the week and also at around a time where I typically do not like opening positions. So right now this could turn into the higher low that I was waiting for on AUDJPY. Maybe it will wick down a little bit below this round psychological level again, and then I would open a long position to profit off of a potential continuation here on AUDJPY. Of course, it's important to note we are at pretty much an all-time high here and the price movement to the upside has been going on for such a long time now, and it could absolutely be the case that price is going to turn around now. Whatever it's going to do, I will just look at the technical parameters here first, and if the price is giving me the long entry signal, then I will consider a long position. If it decides to turn around, of course, then I'll still have the option to short AUDJPY, but right now I'm looking for the long position to give me some kind of formation like that, essentially as I drew it already. That's the plan for AUDJPY. Let's have a look at AUDUSD. And on AUDUSD, I'm actually looking for a short position, which is kind of odd because most of the other AUD pairs were looking really bullish to me, but this time, or this pair, is more like a bearish pair for me now. The reason is that we are currently at the 0.705 round psychological level, and we have an area of interest that has been resistance turned into support, and now doesn't really look like it has been respected recently, but I would like to see it to turn into resistance now, and that price will actually have a bigger correction to the downside. At least this is what it looks like. Of course, it could just continue to the upside again, but whatever it is going to do, I will react accordingly and then plan my entry. Right now I'm more looking for a potential short position here, and it's kind of difficult to decide because those other AUD pairs were looking rather bullish. This is looking a little bearish, so whatever the pairs are going to do, I will just have to observe the price action and then make my decision based off of that. We're pretty much at an all-time high, so it would make sense to have a correction down to one of the recent key levels or an area which it hasn't tested in quite a long time, for example the 0.68 round psychological level. But again, I will wait for price to have a retracement back into the area. Then I just want to see how price is going to react in that. For example, maybe rejecting the 50 EMA here, which would be some nice additional confluence, and if that happens within this area, then this might be a good indicator that we are going to have a correction to the downside. The next pair on my list is NZDCAD. On NZDCAD, I'm looking for a long position. Quite a lot of Canadian dollar pairs were looking rather bullish recently, or at least in terms of long time trend, and right now this looks like it could be a turning point for NZDCAD, that we are having the 0.8 round psychological level here and an area of interest that has been resistance, support, and hopefully it will turn into support again after we've had the push to the upside here. On a lower time frame, it is almost forming some kind of morning star formation, but we are still below the 0.8 round psychological level. So what I'm expecting to see here, or what I'm anticipating to see, is some kind of breakout, a higher low to open the long position here, and then this is going to be the entry signal to profit off of a continuation or a correction to the upside. This could even be a longer swing trade, maybe up until this area, the head and shoulders pattern here, where it's going to retest this neckline, and that might be a trade that I could hold for a couple of weeks, depending on how fast the price is going to move. And if you look at the general pattern, we have two weekly candlesticks with the wicks to the upside. If you look at the past, we have a similar scenario right here, and the price continued to the upside back to the recent highs, and even down here this looks quite similar to the pattern we are having right now. So this is really an interesting time and an interesting formation here that I would really like to profit off of, and it's important to be patient here. Again, just wait for the shift of structure now on the lower time frame, see if the price is giving me the price action that I would like to see, the push through this 0.8 round psychological level. I want to wait for a London session to start at least, to then see and react to sometimes really wild price movements, and only then I would consider an entry. Other than that, I'm not going to enter earlier, but it's going to be the plan on NZDCAD. Looks really promising to me. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and let's go to the next pair, which is CADJPY. And on CADJPY, I was really considering whether I would like to add it to my list or not, but this pattern just looks so interesting that I thought I wanted to add it to this list. So what you can spot here on the daily chart looks really like a head and shoulders pattern, and we have a left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder here. And as you know, the head and shoulders pattern is considered to be a bearish pattern and a reversal pattern in this context. And we are also at a really high price level here, which has been even resistance in the past, and it looks like we've come back to test it again. And I believe that we could experience some really strong selling power in this area. We strongly broke through the 116 round psychological level and an area of interest that has been resistance first, then support, and hopefully it will turn into resistance again. Though the price just peaked through this level, and it looks like it is struggling to actually develop the according or the necessary bearish power in the market. But it's important to be patient and watch what the price is going to do, and also look on the lower time frame how the price structure is going to form. I'm pretty much looking for some kind of stronger push to the downside, breaking those lows, and then maybe the lower high for me to open the short position on CADJPY and profit off of a bigger correction to the downside, essentially rejecting the neckline of this head and shoulders pattern. With the first profit target could be, of course, the recent low here, or maybe the ultimate target would be somewhere around the 113 round psychological level, where the price had experienced some solid support in the past. And this looks really like an interesting pattern, and I just need the proper bearish power now in this area here to open the short position on CADJPY. Again, important to be patient. I will wait for London session first on Monday and then just watch and monitor price action. And that's already it with the main pairs for this week's Sunday market analysis. Now let's have a look at 2 pairs from last week and see how those pairs have performed. And first we have NZDUSD, and on NZDUSD I was looking for a short position entry, as you can see by my blue arrow here. And essentially I was looking for the retest of this area, and we even had a really strong reduction, but it did not really perform as cleanly as I wanted to. And at the time I was already into other short positions that I shared with you in my free Telegram channel. First pair was AUDUSD and the other pair was USD-CHF. We will talk about that in a minute. And NZDUSD decided to actually climb higher now and break through this area again, the 0.585 round psychological level. Of course, it could just give a lower high now, and that would be a really nice entry signal for a short position and a continuation to the downside. But I decided not to put it on my main list for the coming week, just because the price was not really cleanly respecting this area anymore, and it might be that it will turn around now. So I'm just going to wait and see what it's going to do. And essentially I avoided another loss on NZDUSD here by not taking this short position. The other pair on my list was USD-CHF, and on USD-CHF I decided to open a short position where we had the double rejection of the 0.79 round psychological level and even a retest of this neckline of this double top formation here on the lower time frame. Unfortunately, after that the price or the position went into profit, but essentially it came back into this area and just violated and hit the stop loss immediately where it was breaking through this area again. Now we are even below this area, but that just shows that there's just so much noise and momentum right now here in the market that I really do not want to open this position again, and I'm just going to sit here and wait and see if there's going to be a cleaner shift of structure on the 4 hour maybe, where we will break this low here, and then a lower high will be the more sufficient entry signal on USD-CHF to profit off of a correction to the downside, because as you can see this might be forming some kind of head and shoulders formation, which is a bearish pattern and considered to be a reversal pattern, and in this context it would totally make sense. And maybe here it's going to form a right shoulder, and then if it's breaking the neckline, then that's a good sign that we might have the move to the downside now. And that's already it with this week's Sunday market analysis. Of course, I've analyzed the other pairs too, but I did not find any nice trade setups on those. I've set price alarms, and if any of those alarms getting triggered, I will have a look at the respective pair again and then see if I can find another good trade for the coming week. If you want to get notified whenever that happens, or if you're interested in my actual running trades and when I open or close a position, then you can just join my free Telegram channel. I will put the link to it into the video description. You will also find a link to my other socials there. If you liked the video, leave a like, and if you did not like the video, give me a dislike, and feel free to comment what you did not like about the video so that I can improve it in the future. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below and I will try to answer your questions. Thank you for watching. I wish you a successful trading week. Remember to manage your risk properly, and see you next Sunday.